it's Emily with Lake Whitney Yoga. We're going to talk about props. We use them a lot in our classes. So I'd like to show you some variations and modifications you can use and do during class or even at home. In Yin, we use a lot of props, and Restorative, we use a lot of props. Both classes we do similar asanas, but we use the props in those asanas for different reasons. In Yin, we want to go into a deeper stretch and get the deepest sensations in the most safest way. In Restorative, we use props to become more comfortable, that we can relax in the stretch. First pose I would like to show you with props and modifications is butterfly. Butterfly is one of our most requested asana at the studio. It's one of my favorite asanas as well, and it's also something to work towards too. It's like an easy asana, but when you have tight hips, and in Yin or Restorative, when you're holding that asana for so long, it can become very intense. The first variation in Yin, we would use blocks or even sometimes blankets, but I'm going to show blocks today. And the way I use the blocks is the same way you would use the blanket. In butterfly, we bring our feet together and then we begin to open our legs and allow the soles of our feet to touch. For some of us, we have tight hips, and it varies from day to day as well, but we find ourselves coming open to here. And this is about as low we can get our knees. Holding in Yin for this long, we're now using muscle. And in Yin, we don't want to use muscle. We want to take the energy and bring it towards our connective tissues, our fascia, and our joints. But when we're using muscle, the energy goes towards the muscle, not so much the points we want to stress and activate. So we use props, like the blocks, to place under our legs. Now we can allow our knees and our thighs to rest on the blocks. We're not using our inner thigh muscles to hold our knees in that position as far as we can go, and we can just hold here. And in Yin, a lot of times we fold forward or we even recline, coming into a more angled recline with our bolster, or we come all the way back. Just help us modify so we can get to the deepest part of that stretch without injuring ourselves and also without using muscle. Now in Restorative, we wouldn't use blocks, we would use a strap. We want to allow ourselves to fully relax, fully be able to settle our nervous system, learn to let go, and just enjoy the moments we have in that asana. And because we're holding these asanas for 10 to 15 minutes, we want to make sure we are at most comfortable as we can be. So in a butterfly, still wanting that hip opening effect, we would take the strap and we would loop it. So I took it and looped it under both metal rings, and then I take the end and I go over the first metal ring and then under the second metal ring. Now allows a loop, but it allows me to just the loop. So from here, I like to say from shoulder to shoulder is how wide you would want your loop, but it depends on you. More than likely we would recline, and I will show you with a bolster, but you can also use a couch pillow, regular pillows, and even your blanket. But first I'll show the bolster. So the bolster is vertically going along the mat, and we take the strap, put it around our knees, and we begin to allow our legs to fall open. Now, for a lot, this is comfortable. And then you go ahead, lean back on the bolster and settle in. From here, you can allow your hands to fall outwards, palms palms up if that's most comfortable, or palms down. You can also place your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your Manipura chakra, which is your solar plexus chakra, kind of right around the navel. And we just begin to relax and settle in this asana. You take a moment here to observe how you feel, and if you feel that you could go deeper in this asana and get a more relaxed feeling or sensation, then you definitely do adjust. Go wider in this with this strap and butterfly, allowing your legs to come more wide, falling outwards, and finding your hand placement, and just relax and settle in, releasing all the tension in your hips, your spine, your neck, even your jaw, and the space in between your eyebrows. This is a really great asana just to decompress, help activate our digestive system, and letting go with whatever emotions you're carrying in your hips. A lot of times the emotions we do carry in our hips is feeling fear, anxiety, depression. Definitely take the butterfly asana and just relax. Next variation I would like to show is waterfall, or legs up the wall. The most versatile asanas we have. It is so relaxing, especially when you're walking on your feet all day, every day. It is so nice to just allow them up in the air and allow that weight just to come down and just observe the earth just holding you up. So in yin, we are holding these asanas for a deep sensation. We're not using the muscles in the parts that we are bringing the energy to. So we want to make sure those muscles are relaxed. But sometimes we have to use muscles opposite part of our body, like our arms, to hold straps while we're in the waterfall position. Come down to our lower backs. I like to start with my knees bent, feet flat. I'm gonna move these out of the way. And from here, I take the metal part of the strap in one of my hands. It's in my right hand right now. And then I begin to lift my head and my feet. And I take the strap and I place it right on the balls of my feet. Sometimes they kind of fall on, in the arches. And then from here, I begin to lift. Now, I am having to use the muscles in my arms to stay bent and hold my legs in place. But I don't have to use the muscles in my legs to hold my legs up. And so we stay here. If you would like, taking the strap to the pads of the feet and kind of pulling it down and over this way. We can begin to feel sensations in our lower hip and also in our legs, back of our knees, and all the fascia in our foot. We have fascia lines coming from our toes all the way to the back of our heels, back of our legs, back body, all the way from the back of our head and to our forehead. We also have fascia coming from our feet to our shins, our thighs, our front body, and to the front of our forehead as well. That's where those lines meet. So when you begin to feel these stretches and these sensations, just imagine energy moving through the fascia. And then we slowly begin to bend our knees, bring them to our chest, and rock side to side, coming out of that asana. In restorative, we would use our blocks and our bolster for a legs up the wall effect. You can also use the wall and just have your legs up the wall. So I'll show you with the blocks and the bolster. So we place our blocks on the tallest setting next to each other, and then we place the bolster on top of the blocks. Give it a good wiggle, make sure that it's stable and even. And then we come, this is the same way you would use it if you're going legs up the wall. We take whatever side hip close to the bolster, and we begin to lift our feet and swivel to our backs. From here, lie down, adjust the meat on your bottom, and you lie here, fully relaxed. So allow the legs to naturally rotate, most of the time externally. Your hands can be placed anywhere you would like that is most comfortable, where you feel the most settled. You just begin to breathe, observing the way you feel physically and mentally. Observe your heart rate with every breath, how it slows and becomes more controlled. Our breath is the communicator to our nervous system. And so when we control our breath using long exhales, it allows our nervous system to settle, to calm, so we can see more clearly. And then from here, to get out of this asana, you just bring your knees to your chest, roll to a fetal position, and push your way up. The next asana I really enjoy and can be used in yin, restorative, hatha. It is a great cool down in a vinyasa, is the banana pose, banana asana. I'm going to take the blocks and place them horizontally next to each other on our mat. I'm going to take the bolster and place it above the mat. You can pull it down a little bit if you would like, depending on how deep of the back bend you want. This is an intense back bend in banana. It is one of the greatest variations, in my opinion, in banana. We have the blocks and the bolster settled. We can adjust the bolster or the blocks as we go. So we face the opposite directions of the block and the blocks of the bolster. Place your feet flat, knees bent, and we're gonna scoot back and think about where your elbows, when you lean back, where your elbows rest. So from here, we take our thumbs and we begin to lean back, using our thumbs as a guide. Our head should rest on the bolster, or you can bring your head down. It's all up to you. That is a deeper back bend with more intense sensations. So once we're settled in the asana and we know where we find the deepest sensations for our body, then we begin to extend our legs. We take our hands overhead. I like to, in my yin classes, just settle here for a moment, observing just where all of the points of contact are from our body to the mat. Catch our breath and just settle. Then we begin to take our right foot over to the right side of the mat. Our left foot follows. You can either place it on top of your right foot, or you can place it next to the right foot. And then we begin to take our right arm over to the top right corner of our mat, and then we take our left arm over to the top right corner of our mat. Your shoulders don't open all the way like this just yet. That is okay. A lot of times you can grab each elbow, take it overhead, and begin to bring your right elbow over. You should begin to feel a deep stretch along the left side of your body. We just rest here, focusing on our breath, taking our mind away from the sensations we feel, because those sensations usually trigger our brain to tell us to back out of the asana, that we don't like this feeling. But over time, practicing yin, you get used to those sensations. You get used to being comfortable, being uncomfortable, which is an amazing practice on and off the mat. To back out of this pose or asana, we just take our arms down, feet come neutral, and we take a moment here just to allow those sensations to spread throughout the body, to take away from where we just felt the stretch. And now we go on to the left side, coming over with our legs, and then coming over with our right. And I'll show without the bolster this time. And over time in this asana, your body will slowly open up more with gravity. Releasing whatever you're holding in. And then again, coming out of the pose, we bring our feet back to neutral, hands come back down. If you would like, you can bend your knee, place your hands wherever is most comfortable. And when you're ready to come up, you can go into a fetal position, or I like to bring my knees close to my chest, lift my head, and come forward. That is how I would do a variation of Banana Asana in a Yen class. In a restorative class, I would use the bolster, especially if we want that arch in our back, but I would use the bolster this way. So the bolster now comes vertically on our mat. We place our lower spine bolster, and then we feet flat, knees bent, and we just begin to relax our back on the bolster. And then you can extend your legs when you feel settled and ready. From here, we would take our arms overhead, and then we would go to the right side. And then we would go to the left side. Now, if your arms overhead is not comfortable with the bolster, then we would grab another bolster or the blocks and rest our elbows on the blocks. So we can still enjoy that soft stretch in our shoulders and our side body, but we're not having to do the physical work to do so. We don't have to use our muscles, and it's not Yen where gravity is pulling us deeper. It's restorative where the props are here to hold us upright, to keep us anchored to our mat. We have the block under our left elbow or forearm, and then the right arm comes and rests. The shoulder will rest on the bolster. And you just relax with the feet to the left side as well. The next asana I want to show modifications for is Child's Pose. Child's Pose is one of the poses or asanas you go to when you need a moment to just collect your thoughts, your emotions, slow the heart rate down. It is an inversion, so a lot of times with clients who have higher blood pressure, we don't want our heads lower than our hips. And so I have a couple of variations that are great for everybody in Child's. For Yen, to make Child's harder, I have a variation using our blocks. Traditionally in Child's Pose, we come to the table position. We bring our feet together, walk our knees out slightly wider, and then we begin to draw our hips back and down towards our heels. Now sometimes we can't get there, and that's fine. We usually find ourselves about this height or so close to our heels. One variation you can use is to put a bolster or even a blanket under your thigh and on top of your calf to still be able to relax and fall deeper without having to use muscle to hold you up. So we take our blocks, place them at the top of our, not the top, but just mid of our mat. We'll adjust with our hands when we get there. So from here, adjust your blanket if you need to. You can rest the blanket under your knees and your ankles. This child's pose, once you're holding for a long while, becomes a deep stretch in your ankles as well, which is why it's so great in yen. Well, I think we forget about our ankles a lot of times, but we're in our child's pose. We're from table, we come down, bring our bottoms towards our heels, and our hands come on top of the blocks. And we push our blocks out, and we begin to drop our head to the mat. And from here, we just rest and relax. Another variation is to take it at an angle so your forearms are rested. Or you can bring the blocks closer, horizontally on the mat together, and we rest our elbows, pray our hands, bringing the hands behind our head. No matter what variation you choose to do, focus on breathing, especially in the back. So we still use our tummies. You'll feel compression when you inhale, expanding your tummy. Your tummy more than likely will hit your thighs, and that's okay. We just think about the organs that we're creating compression in as we inhale. Also, when you exhale, we compress as well. But when we inhale, imagine the air coming up towards your back, pushing your lungs into your rib cage. Majority of our muscles in our lungs is in the back. So it's nice to trigger them. Also helps make them stronger when we back breathe. And it's also the second lobe of our lungs. There are 3 lobes: our belly, diaphragm, back, and chest. Now I'm going to show the next variation in child's pose that can be used as a yen asana, especially if you can't get your heels all the way or your bottom all the way to the heels. This is a great variation for that, but I love it for restorative. Now, I don't like to hold child's pose as long in restorative because it does begin to get intense on the knees and the hips when holding for a long time. So it's just a nice little refresher in between longer holds in restore. We're gonna use the blocks. We take them horizontally like train tracks on the mat, and then we take the bolster and stack it on top. Give it a nice wiggle. From here, we frame the bolster with our thighs, and bottoms come to heels. And then we begin to lean forward, hugging the bolster. Our arms go in between each block, or the blocks, and we just begin to relax and settle. Now, this is a great variation if you can't fully bring your bottom towards your heels. But you can feel yourself eventually wanting to pull closer towards your heels, and you just relax into this asana. To come out, we just come up and take a moment to observe how you feel. You can slowly come down, extend your legs, give them just a subtle movement, wiggles. You can bend your knees and just sway side to side, and observe the sensation as it spreads throughout your body, releasing whatever tension you may have been carrying, either that being emotion or some kind of physical tension. Now I showed you kind of the differences with props in each of the poses depending on the class. I'd like to show you some of my favorite asanas with props, but not so much comparing from class to class. My favorite asanas to do in restorative is lying on the left side, but with support. So I like to take the blanket. So we fold it hamburger style halfway, and then we go hot dog style halfway. Makes a nice fold. If creases or unalignment bothers you, definitely get all of that out, straighten it out, so you're not relaxing physically and then your mind's going crazy like, there's a wrinkle. Totally get it, but get it out beforehand. And then we'll take the blanket and place it on the mat. This is to help support our hips. And I'm gonna go on my left side this way. This asana is great for digestion, nausea, so your stomach's upset. Naturally, we like to curl up in a ball on our left side. So this asana is great for that. You will need 2 bolsters or 2 couch cushions, or you can use 2 regular, more firm pillows. So we have our first pillow, which is going to support our head. Move this block. And then we have our second bolster, which is going to support our leg. So we take the blocks, we place them horizontally next to our mat, and they line together like train tracks. And then we take the bolster and place it on top of those. Make sure it's firm. So from here, we would lie down, and we like to use a taller bolster so our elbow isn't, or our shoulder isn't crunched. So this just provides space for our shoulder. And then we use the second bolster and the blocks, you might have to scoot it closer, to support our leg. So our knee isn't crunched downwards. We rest the top knee and the bottom leg comes fully extended. And this is the left side lying down pose that I like to use in restorative, or sometimes even for Shavasana. Asana I really like to use in yin for our shoulders requires the blocks. Now, I try to make it a yin asana, but a lot of my students really just enjoy it. So sometimes I find them in that asana in Shavasana, or we'll use it in restorative. But we take the blocks, we angle them at the top of our mats, shoulder width apart, move the bolster, keep a blanket down on the mat if the ground hurts the hip bones, especially because we're in these asanas for a long time. It might not bother you at first, but as you begin to settle in and you feel yourself weighing heavier into the mat, the hip bones might be a little triggered. So from here, we come down to our stomachs. We take the blocks and we place them right where our shoulders would be. We take my hair over, and then from here, we bring our hands out to the sides, adjust the blocks as you do so, and then we rest our forehead on the mat. Relax your tailbone, allow your feet to fall naturally. That is one of my favorite asanas, especially when I'm just ready to relax and I felt hunched and curled in all day. I like to use that to kind of pull my shoulders back, especially before I go into like a deep back bend, like the variation banana asana that I had previously shown. Some prop replacements, if you don't have these props, for a bolster, you would use a couch pillow. For blocks, you could use books. For a blanket, any blanket would work, or even a towel. And for a strap, I highly recommend a strap, but you can use a necktie or even a belt. You do want to make sure they're a little bit longer so you can comfortably hold with the strap and without having to lift your shoulders or your upper body off the ground to do so. All of us being so unique, props are very important in yoga practice. They're not a requirement, but they're great to have. I really enjoyed making this video for you, and I hope that you can get as much as you can out of it. Thank you for being here with me today.